Hey y'all, welcome to today's show. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. We'll just jump right back in here with another very common tree. It has wonderful medicinal uses, and you'll spot this one. I don't care where you live. There's going to be a maple that someone's planted ornamentally, even if it's in a really bad location. Even I'm a little hoarse today. You have to excuse me, but even if it's a desert Southwest, I guarantee you're going to spot somebody who's put in a Japanese maple, even if it needs irrigation and deep mulch and everything. And remember, when you do mulch your trees, don't mulch right up to the base. Always leave a ring around the base of the tree. It can prevent disease, and it actually helps the natural patterns of how the water drips off the leaves of a tree. They don't run down the trunk. You ever thought about that? They actually drip off the leaves. So, definitely, if you live in a drought-prone area or a very hot area, you're trying to grow a cooler weather tree, do deep mulch. I mean, a foot, 2 feet deep if you want to, 3 feet, it doesn't matter. But don't go all the way up to the trunk. Leave a good, at least 2 feet of space between the trunk and the mulch line, and you'll have a much healthier tree, a lot less trouble with it. And fewer problems with pests too, because some of the like rodents and such, or insects even, that will eat the bark of a tree. They want to travel through that mulch. So if you leave that space, you're going to have a lot better time of it. That said, do put mulch under your trees, especially there's a piece of land I know because used to have some family property down there. It's in eastern North Carolina. It's just worn out farmland. I mean, worn out. It was cotton fields, it was tobacco fields, and it won't even grow grass. Well, someone came in there and spent a fortune planting pecan trees to start a pecan orchard. And I've been driving past there for like 12 years now. And those things are still spindly, tiny. I don't know that those trees will bear pecans ever, actually. I mean, seriously. I mean, those trees can live to be 100 years old. I don't know how they're ever going to bear pecans because they're so stunted in their growth. Because this is just worn out farmland, and the person has never put a bit of mulch on it. They put the little plastic tubes around the base to keep deer from eating the bark. But then they spray Roundup around the base of the tree to prevent weeds from growing. So and there are no weeds there. Their trees are actually soaking up, Roundup, which is probably stunning their growth, actually. And there's no fertility. There's no mulch. There's no rotting leaves. There's nothing on that soil to promote the growth of those trees. And, what do you do? I mean, just North Carolina, and people think spray Roundup on it. I mean, that's literally the mindset of everything. Spray Roundup on it. Soak everything in chemicals. It's just really, that's what our agricultural schools have pushed, and that's what our county extension agents encourage. And basically, whether it's a farmer or just a guy that has a lawn, if he's not dumping gallons of Roundup on every square foot of his property, he doesn't feel like he's doing his job, I guess. Well, my feelings about such as that. But let's go ahead and get into maples. Acre, the maple family. There are at least 30 varieties of maples used medicinally. And you know what? I'm not even going to read them all. If I see a couple here that are simple, field maple, hornbeam maple, hawthorn-leaved maple. I've seen that one before. Not very often. Rock maple. Actually, one called box elder, which isn't an elder. It's actually Acre interius, I believe. Oregon maple. Wow, so many. Japanese maple. Now, that's one of those you're going to see in a lot of landscaping, even in areas where it really shouldn't be planted. And it's a really neat tree. I like Japanese maple because, one, it's darn pretty. I mean, it has those like red, purple leaves. The leaves are edible. They actually have sort of that lemony sorrel type taste, and they're really good. It's actually a wild edible that I enjoy. Um, Norway maple, red maple, of course, silver maple, another one of my absolute favorites. Sugar maple, absolutely one of my favorites. We can tap trees in the Appalachian Mountains. There's several trees we can tap. We have some maples and we have hickories, a lot of hickories. People don't do it very much because people don't really know about it. But yeah, if you live up in New England, of course you know about sugar maple. Big tooth maple, black maple, mountain maple. We have a lot of mountain maple. Um, and like I said, a lot of them I don't really know. Now, in my region, we have the southern sugar maple, which is also just as good. I mean, as for making syrup. And I've seen people down in South Carolina that tap those trees, so it's a really good one that people really don't know about. Um, Acre Negundo, also called Eastern Box Elder or Ash Leaf Maple. I don't know why some of these trees are called elders because they're very different. Black maple we see a lot, Acre nigrum. Striped maple, absolutely. That's actually Acre Pennsylvanicum. It's native to the Appalachians. We get a lot of that in the mountains. Definitely red maple, Carolina red maple. That grows everywhere. Yeah, I mean well, I know there's tons of it in the sandhills. I mean, tons of it. Um, Regular silver maple, which is also in the sugar maple family. Yeah, so yeah, there are a lot. And of course, people have brought in Japanese maples and Norway maples and etc. Infusion of the bark of maple, especially red maple or Acre rubrum, and that really is one of the most common maples I see. I was actually talking with a fellow. I guess it was near Thanksgiving. I was down in Pinehurst visiting my mother, and he had just had a huge red maple taken out of his yard. And he said the tree crew was recommending everybody cut down their red maples. They said that they're trash trees or something. They're big, beautiful maple trees. Just because they're not planted by an arborist, because they're native to here, it certainly doesn't mean they should be eradicated. They're good for woodworking. They're good for carving. They're not as like uh, I guess they're just not as popularly known. But I mean, if that's what they're telling people these days, like your arborists and your extension agents and your other people in the county that are going to be advising you, man, we really need to cut off their salaries. I'm just telling you. I mean, we need to cut some government waste and abuse in funding these agencies because this is a tree that's good for firewood. It's good. A tree that's wonderful for smoking barbecue. But anyway, an infusion made of the bark of maples, especially red maple or Acre rubrum, is used for its astringent properties. It has traditionally been used for treating sore eyes. It has also been used to help ease cramps and as a remedy in cases of diarrhea or severe diarrhea. It can also be extremely useful to treat bruises, swellings, and skin inflammations. And by the way, in the same neighborhood, another neighbor who bought some of my spoons. So we were talking about carving wood, and I was carving some beautiful paper birch. And she said it was her favorite tree, but she knew it as river birch. I was taught those were two different trees. I guess up north she was taught those were two different trees, but we finally figured out what tree we were talking about. And her neighbor, again, the arborist had just come by and said, "That's a trash tree. You need to get rid of it." You know what? If somebody comes to your yard and says, "That's a trash tree, get rid of it," tell them to get off your property because she paid them to remove an incredibly valuable tree from her property, probably a 30 or 40-year-old birch that, I mean, as firewood would have been worth, several $100s. As carving wood, any wood carver would pay for that wood gladly, and could, if you sell your carvings, you're looking at probably $1,000 or $2,000 in that tree. Minimum. Minimum. Plus you can make baskets and all kinds of stuff out of the bark if you harvest it in the spring. And it's medicinal as well. So, I mean, I don't know what they're teaching people in schools these days. I mean, when I was down at UGA, University of Georgia, we had a forestry department. And we didn't have that kind of idiocy. I don't know what's going on at NC State. I shudder to think what's going on at NC State. I mean, you know, uh, the whole thing's basically funded by Smithfield Pork, which is a Chinese-owned company. Um, I shudder to think what's going on at NC State. But anyway, I think the chemical companies and a lot of business interests are probably have some. I'll just say they probably have some influence over that curriculum. I have no idea. This is conjecture. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not hearing a lot of good advice coming from our local agencies, state agencies. I'm not hearing any good advice coming from them, actually. Um, yeah, I could go on about that for quite a while. Quite a while. Let's see. How do I think about Smithfield Pork? Well, they destroyed the county that my family lived in for a few hundred years. Um, as best I can tell, again, this is conjecture, but it appears to be, as I've spent time in Tar Heel, 90% of the folks that work there at their factory are illegal immigrants. And a few years ago, it's probably 15, 20 years ago now, it was during the Bush administration, ICE was called to do an inspection, and someone tipped them off, and all the illegals went out there and rioted, like with grabbing, whatever they could grab, and physically attacked the federal agencies. And I don't think anyone was ever held responsible for it. And the Cape Fear River smells like hog crap. And somehow our state agencies keep saying it's clean. They go down and test the water, say, "Oh, this water's clean." They're based out of NC State University, who gets a lot of money from Smithfield Pork. And the water smells like hog crap. But it's clean. Yeah. The same water that there used to be a DuPont, I think it was, Teflon plant between Rockfish and Tar Heel. And it just recently came out that that water they were testing recently had basically given hundreds of people cancer due to a chemical called Gen X. How appropriate is that? Gen X. Gotten into people's, I mean, it literally seeped through the groundwater, contaminated wells, cause all kinds of disease, not just cancer. But yeah, our state agencies, they're doing a bang up job testing that water, aren't they? The same state agencies that convinced everybody in the mountains of North Carolina to grow Christmas trees. And now we have the highest rates of cancer in the entire state because of the chemicals that they advise them to continually spray on those trees. Yeah, they're doing a bang up job. I mean, boy, howdy, we need some higher taxes in North Carolina to fund these frickin' geniuses that come out of NC State University. Or how about the guy at UNC Chapel Hill that helped the lab in Wuhan develop COVID? You aware of that story? Check it out. Check it out. Just Google it. UNC Chapel Hill. Um, gain of function research. Yeah, man, I tell you, our universities have not only encouraged communism, homosexuality, and transgenderism. Go down Black Lives Matter riots. Just go down the list of what a wonderful thing that the UNC system of universities has been for North Carolina. I'd shut them all down in the blink of an eye. I don't think a damn one of them's worth a thing. And you look at the teachers they turn out, where we in the state of North Carolina, more than 50% of high school students graduate functionally illiterate and unable to do basic math. Somehow they get a high school diploma. Then they go to college and get a degree. And now they're working in our banks and our hospitals, supposedly qualified, and so freaking stupid, you would not entrust them to watch your dog for 5 minutes. But yeah, we have the most teacher colleges in the Southeast. Ain't that something? All right, so charcoal made from the vine maple was used in the treatment of polio, believe it or not. A tea made from the wood and bark of rock maple was said to be effective against nausea. The moosewood, Acre pennsylvanicum, yeah, that's the way you say it, has the longest and most documented history of use. It has been found effective in a number of ailments. Generally, a tea is made from the inner bark. The tea is used for coughs, colds, bronchitis, and kidney infections. As a wash, it has been used for swellings. The sugar maple is said to be good used as a tonic tea, diuretic, and expectorant. It is said to cleanse the liver and kidneys. It is also recommended as a blood cleanser and an expectorant for clearing the congestion from the lungs. The mountain maple has a long history of use as a poultice for wounds. It is also said to help stop internal hemorrhage taken as a tea. Overall, the chief value of the maple, beyond firewood and furniture, is its sugar. These trees, along with several others, can be tapped in early spring